What's up guys, Jam here. This is the first video in a new series that I'm doing on my channel where I talk about and analyze a specific character from ReZero. You guys can request characters that you would like to see in the comment section and I'll pick the most requested one. Just a spoiler warning, if you have not finished reading Arc 5 or EX1, you have been warned. With that being said, let's get into the story of Crusch Karsten, the head of House Karsten and one of the royal selection candidates.
Should I become the new ruler, I vow, the dragon will forget its demanded covenant. The dragon's empire of Lugnica belongs not to that beast, but to its people.
Crusch is the only child born to Meckart Karsten and his late wife Helena. Crusch was raised in one of the most powerful noble families in Lugnica. Even at a young age, she was more mature than her peers. As Crusch grew older, she began developing masculine hobbies, such as learning the sword and a preference for men's clothing. Instead of being fascinated with jewelry like most girls her age, Crusch was fascinated with the history of the Lion Kings of Lugnica. They were the rulers of Lugnica before the pact with the dragon was made. Once the last Lion King made the pact with the dragon, the crest of Lugnica was changed from a lion to a dragon. Shortly after, the lion crest would be passed to the Karsten family. Due to her family's close ties with the royal family, Crusch would visit the royal castle frequently with her father. While visiting, she could be found admiring the castle's garden. During one visit to the royal castle, she was rudely interrupted by a young boy with blonde hair, who happened to fall from the sky. Startled, Crusch pulled out her family's dagger on the boy. Little did she know that this boy would end up being one of her closest friends. The boy was none other than the 4th Prince of Lugnica, Fourier Lugnica. Fourier apologized right away to Crusch, then introduced himself. Crusch naturally panics as she had just pulled out a weapon on the member of the royal family and begged for forgiveness. Fourier accepted Crusch's apology, then asked why she carried a dagger. Crusch explains to Fourier that it was a gift from her father and was a crested dagger passed down from generation to generation. Fourier notices that the Karsten crest is a lion, which reminds him of the Lion Kings of Lugnica. This surprises Crusch as no one had ever asked her about her family crest before. They begin to connect through their shared interest in the Lion Kings, which blossomed into a great friendship between the two. A couple of years pass by. Crusch and her father hear about a cat-eared boy being locked up in a basement due to his demi-human blood. After hearing about this, Crusch and her father rescue the boy from his abusive family. The boy's name was Felix Argyle, and he would end up being adopted into the Karsten family. Crusch and Felix would become very close, developing a sibling bond. Not too long after, Crusch and Felix made a promise to one another. Crusch will take up Felix's night portion, while Felix will take on Crusch's girl portion, which allows Crusch to not give up her masculine hobbies. This also led to Felix starting to go by the name Ferris. While growing up together, the two would become very close with Fourier as well, creating a tight-knit friend group. On Crusch's 17th birthday, the Great Rabbits appeared in the Karsten domain. Meckart attempted to deal with the issue quietly and made Ferris promise not to tell Crusch. During the birthday party, Crusch quickly noticed her father's absence and questioned Ferris about it. Ferris knew he stood no chance lying to Crusch due to her divine blessing and cracked. Once caught up, Crusch rushed to her father's aid, with Ferris following right behind her. They managed to fend off the rabbits successfully due to her heroics in the battle. Crusch was then given the nickname the Valkyrie of the Karsten lands. 6 months after the battle against the Great Rabbit, Crusch took over the position of Duke from her father. Several years later, Crusch was informed of suspicious activity occurring at House Argyle, Ferris's home. Not wanting to trouble Ferris, who was currently away training as a knight, she decided not to get him involved in the matter. Crusch confronts Ferris's father Bean and a man named Miles. After a very tense conversation, Crusch was drugged by the scent of odorless poison that was in the tea that she was given. When Crusch woke up, she found herself in the same underground cell that Ferris was kept in before he was rescued. She didn't have to wait in there too long as Ferris, Julius, and the Knights of Lugnica came to her rescue. A year after the events of the Argyle incident, Crusch visited a very sick Fourier. They walked to the castle garden where they first met one another and reminisced about the old days. Shortly after, Fourier would pass away suddenly, and later that day the king passed away as well, ending the Lugnica line. The next day an emergency meeting was held. At this meeting, Crusch was outraged that the royal court wasn't bothered by the deaths of the royal family, compared to losing the pact with the divine dragon Volcanica. Crusch had always believed that Lugnica shouldn't be relying on the pact. This only justified it. Later that meeting, Crusch found out that she was one of the 5 potential candidates to lead the country. After learning this, Crusch would return to the garden where Fourier died with Ferris, where she vowed to forever sever the tie between the dragon and Lugnica. Fast forward to the start of the main story, Crusch is present in the capital to begin the royal selection. After the royal selection had begun, Crusch was contracted to have Ferris heal Subaru's injuries. In the meantime, Crusch and her faction were preparing to kill the white whale. Before Crusch's faction was ready, they were approached by Subaru and Anastasia to form an alliance against the White Whale. Once the negotiations ended, the alliance was formed and all three factions made their way to the Flugel Tree. The battle against the White Whale had many casualties and injuries, but at long last the White Whale was slain. Crusch thanks Subaru for his help and gives the credit to the Amelia faction. After thanking Subaru, Crusch, Rem, and half of the soldiers make their way to carry the corpse of the White Whale back to the capital. While Crusch and Rem are starting to open up to one another, they are attacked by the Synarchbishops of Greed and Gluttony. Crusch and Rem get dunked on, with Crusch losing her memories and Rem losing her name and memories. Crusch doesn't re-enter the main story until Arc 5, aka Season 3, so if you don't want to be spoiled, please skip to the following timestamp. Crusch joins the other royal candidates in Pristella at Anastasia's invitation. Along with the others there, she is there to have a good time and to learn more about Gluttony, as Anastasia had gotten more information on them. After a few days of staying in Pristella, the city is attacked by the witch cult. Crusch and the other factions have to take back the city without letting the Synarchbishops sink the city. They begin by storming the city hall to restore communication with the others and to not alert the other Synarchbishops. Once they arrive at the city hall, they are greeted by two Synarchbishops, Capella, the Synarchbishop of Lust, and Roy, the Synarchbishop of Greed. Crusch and Subaru go after Capella, while Julius takes on Roy. Crusch and Subaru are quickly overwhelmed and they are infected with Capella's dragon blood. They black out and don't wake up until they are brought to Ferris. Subaru is not affected by Capella's dragon blood, while Crusch is left bedridden as of Arc 7. Coming from a high-ranking noble family, Crusch was raised by her father to be an honorable person. Notably, when Subaru negotiated the alliance by exposing her plans, instead of holding resentment and ill feelings towards him, she commended him for doing his research. Once they defeated the White Whale, Crusch thanked Subaru for his help and promised to never forget her debt to him. Not to mention, she gave credit for defeating the White Whale to the Amelia faction as a sign of gratitude. Crusch is very proud of her family heritage, which also leads to her fascination with the Lugnica Lion King, as the Karsten's family crest is a lion. Especially on her 6th birthday, she asked her father for their family's prized dagger and its hilt resembled a lion. Crusch would rather die than bring shame to her family. This was shown when Crusch accidentally pulled this dagger on a disguised Fourier. Once she realized who he was, she instantly started begging for forgiveness and offered to take her own life for threatening a member of the royal family. While Crusch is known for getting right to business, she is very kind and gentle. This is evident when Crusch heard the rumors of issues taking place at House Argyle. Out of respect for Ferris, she chose not to tell him, as she did not want to burden him as he still had trauma from his time there. Although Crusch has a soft side to her, this doesn't hinder her in the slightest. Crusch is extremely hardworking and talented. When the Grey Rabbit attacked the Karsten lands, she was able to change the tide of battle due to her fierce leadership and skill with the sword. Shortly after, Crusch took over her father's position as Duke at 17 years old and managed their lands better than he ever could. Much to her father's dismay, Crusch carries herself in a masculine manner. This could be due to a lack of a mother figure while growing up, as Crusch's mom, Helena, passed away when Crusch was very little. The effects of this can be seen through Crusch preferring a military outfit instead of a dress or being fascinated with swords rather than jewelry. Unfortunately, Crusch's personality does a complete 180 once her memories are eaten. The once proud and well-respected Valkyrie is no more than a former shell of herself. Crusch becomes very shy and reserved, although sometimes there are hints of her old self, such as when she continued to honor her alliance with the Amelia camp. Crusch has a divine protection of wind indication. She is able to read the wind and see invisible objects as well. Crusch can also use it to read others' emotions, specifically being able to tell if someone is lying or not. Crusch is extremely skilled with the sword. She had been training ever since she was a child. Thanks to Crusch's swordsmanship, she was able to easily beat 10 pirates at the same time. Once Crusch met Wilhelm, she began taking lessons from him, helping her improve even further. Crusch is also very skilled at wind magic. She's able to combine it with her sword to inflict massive damage, such as her signature skill, One Blow 100 Felid, a massive sword strike that can cut anything within her range of vision with an invisible blade. It was strong enough to cut through the thick hide of the White Whale. Crusch's birthday is April 4th. Crusch has a fear of heights. She is very dense when it comes to romance, especially when it's directed at her. She has a habit of raising her finger upward when she's about to explain something. During the negotiations of Arc 3, Crusch revealed how she had a habit of writing down enemy on her palm and swallowing it in order to steel herself. Little did she know that the same trick would be used on her by the Synarchbishop of Gluttony a mere day later. Tappe has stated that out of all the royal selection candidates, she is the third strongest. With that being said, thank you for watching this character spotlight. Don't forget that you can request a character in the comments section, and of course, I hope you all have a great day.